internet glitch. Can you guys please post your questions again? We were talking about visual stimming. So again, when I see visual stimming, vitamin A is one thing that I would definitely see. I would see how much is there a specific side that your child is stimming on, okay? And if you think they are, primary things that I would start working on is ATNR, definitely one of the reflexes responsible for visual seeking. I would work on TLR. I would do a lot of vestibular activities, like lots of activities where the child's body is moving but the eyes have to be stable. So I'm sort of training the eyes constantly to fixate on one thing even when your body is moving. But do check their vitamin A. I think that's very important. Okay. To modify behavior of 21-month-old pushes the kid of same age but not elders or others. Dr. Henna has texted me this. So, do you think that this is a kid who has difficulty communicating? Because pushing a lot of times for children can be a way of communicating when they want to talk to you, when they want to play with other children. This is probably what they would do. So I would recommend checking if this kid has communication difficulties also. Waits for us to see our reaction and tells us he pushes the other kid. Okay, so yes, probably this is one of the attention seeking behaviors, and a lot of kids, typical kids also. So below 3 years of age, they like the attention, be it negative or positive. They don't know if this thing is negative, what repercussions this will have, what will that have, but they do know that this particular action gives me a reaction and I enjoy that. So, to a certain extent, if you think that they're just doing this for attention seeking, you need to, stop responding to their negative things. No reaction is much better than a negative reaction. So, but if this 21-month-old is doing all of this, I would probably, keep them under therapy, just to make sure that this is not going towards negative attention seeking. So yes, I would keep a very close check on this kid for ADD. Hyperactivity, I don't know if this kid is hyperactive or not, but all these symptoms do look like attention deficit disorder. Okay. Next question, laughing and how to help. So laughing is 100% related to yeast overgrowth in the gut. First and foremost thing that you need to look at is gut health. If the child is laughing a lot, uncontrolled laughing, food sensitivities, again, very important. If you want to control, yes, deep pressure, um, crashing based activities are great, like great. And I am generally not a believer of sandwich wrapping and all of that, so I would any day prefer jumping from a height onto the crash pads. I would prefer somersault, I would prefer commando crawling, I would prefer log rolling. But deep pressure movement based activities should calm it down. Okay, maybe pillow fight, if you want it to be more communicative. Pillow fights, beanbag fights, throwing things, aiming things. So a lot of energy expulsion is going to help. But the major cause for laughing is 100% yeast overgrowth in your gut. So my recommendation would be go and check that first. Okay. Sorry. Reasons for auditory seeking and how to help. So, in my experience so far, most of the kids who have auditory seeking uh, are the kids who have seen a lot of screen, like they have had a lot of screen time as kids. So, what happened over a period of time that their auditory system and their occipital lobes, so the systems in the brain responsible for visual and auditory processing, they are too high compared to their parietal lobes and frontal lobes. So my brain keeps on seeking the input in those two lobes only. So my temporal lobes are your usually auditory processing lobes, and occipital lobes are your visual processing lobes. So when I'm moving, I'm meeting people, I'm moving around, my visual needs are still met somehow, but the auditory needs are not. So first and foremost, you need to remove screen time. Even music, for a lot of people, for a lot of parents, they do this, that if you're not giving them the screen, we'll give them the music, but the kid is hooked to that input from the environment. They love that input from the environment. So first thing that I would do is remove any kind of auditory input. This is probably also one kid that I would talk to a lot, like constantly ask questions, to use that auditory seeking as a way of communication instead of seeking. Okay. And it's honestly my favorite, om chanting and long breath holding. So ah, o, e. So long sounds, it gives them a lot of pressure here, and the need to stim goes down. Om chanting helps a lot, like a lot. Okay. Next question. Verbal stimming, like meaningless speaking completely stopped, but now laughing sometimes uncontrollable. What is the reason? So, like I told you, self laughing, the first thing I would do is check their gut for yeast overgrowth, for Clostridia, and for Candida. 99% of the cases, Candida is going to be there. Okay, 99% of the cases. Next question, I'm taking Anjali Handa has asked how to work on to and fro communication, how to make our child understand questions and they have to answer, not just repeat the questions. Very good question. So, a lot of kids that we work with have echolalia. They repeat the question before they answer. Sometimes they know the answer, but they'll still repeat the question before answering. Could be for two reasons. Again, first, your left brain is functioning way higher. Your left brain has your Broca's and Wernicke's and your articulate fasciculus that connects your speech areas in the brain. So left area is more functional. When you say something, my processing is slower. It's slightly slower. So there is no quick fix for this. The processing needs your right brain as well. So let's just say my left brain is functioning here, my right brain is functioning here. I want them here to give you a quick answer. Okay. But if they're here, what happens when you say something? I say it again to my body and my brain to use this loop and give you a mixed answer, give you an answer that you expect, make a loop and then answer. Okay. So if your child is answering, it's a very good thing. My recommendation would be, instead of just doing question answers, try to create more conversations. Okay. So not like what is this, what is that, what do we do from this. So as parents, as therapists, we do so much of this that the kids get used to speaking only when we ask them a question. So creating conversations is so important. Just casual conversations. How are you? What do you want to do today? I don't want to do this. Can we do that? You tell me. Can we change this? I feel like doing this. Express more in front of them. So they also learn to do the same with you. And that has to become a habit. As parents, as therapists, when we are trying to work on them, when we are asking so much from them, what is this, what is that, what do you want to do, what do you want to eat, everything becomes question and answer. So they have to repeat the question before answering. So, instead of question answers, focus more on casual conversations. So their nervous system also feels relaxed and they learn to express more rather than just answering onto our questions. Okay, I'm going on to the next question. Rashmi has asked, ma'am, which reflex is responsible for verbal stimming? Rashmi, so like I told you, stimming of any kind comes because of the disconnection and less connection between left and right brain. It's basically the inflammation in basal ganglia. Your basal ganglia, so left side of the brain tells your basal ganglia to do a certain thing. Right side of the brain tells your basal ganglia to stop that thing. Okay. So your right brain is very less functional. Left brain tells the basal ganglia to do something. Basal ganglia starts doing that. Right brain cannot stop it. Left brain keeps doing it in the loop. That loop keeps getting stronger, stronger, stronger. And your child, feels very hard to regulate and stop themselves. If your child is verbally stimming a lot, again, like I told you, Om chanting, long sound practicing, blowing, sucking, holding breath, abdominal grading, core strength goes long way. But then again, yes, find out why your basal ganglia is so inflamed. Do their blood work time to time, check their blood work time to time for everything. So usually gluten keeps your cerebellum and basal ganglia inflamed. They are known inflammation causing agents in the brain. So that's why when you go to a dietitian, the first thing that they're going to say is stop gluten, casein, and eggs. They are known inflammatory things. So yeah, that are the major reasons. So there's no one specific reflex responsible for verbal stimming. Okay. um so Preeti Agarwal has asked, eye contact is not sustained, gaze is moving and not looking down, which is reflex is. So if eye contact is not sustained, gaze is moving constantly, I don't know about the child's body, but I think all of them, like all of them. So with your moros and TLR, it gives your body a lot of good postural control to sit in one place. You can only get stable eyes on a stable body. If my body is constantly moving, it's very hard for me to keep my eyes fixed. Okay. So if your child is sitting like this, their postural control is not good. I know for sure that Moros and TLR are the first things that I'm going to have to work on. Again, eye movements. If I want to read left to right, I want to look at the board, I want to match things in my visual field, I need a lot of ATNR and STNR, and I again don't see that happening. So definitely Moros, TLR, ATNR, STNR, but you're gonna have to do the clinical testing and see how the kid is responding. But from all these issues, I think these four you're gonna definitely have to check. I would also check Palmer um, for this specific kid. Okay. Preeti Fernandez has asked, sleep issues due to dysregulation, how to help and how to know if he's overstimulating due to the therapies. So again, I don't know how many therapies are you doing. For now, sleep issues in neurodivergent kids are again very common because of the hormone disruption, neurotransmitter disruption, visual seeking that they do, screens that they use. Your moros can keep you triggered. Your spinal gland reflex can keep you triggered if you're having sleep issues. Again, some general things that help with sleep: lavender oil. If you can just apply one drop here, one drop here, and one drop here, and one drop here, lavender calms you down a lot. So definitely my recommendation would be using lavender oil. Deep massages at night, especially foot, if you can. I don't know if your child is gonna let you do the foot massage or not. You're gonna have to check their Babinski. So at night, if your child is having sleep issues, you make sure that before their sleep time, 3 hours before their sleep time, you're not stimulating them. You don't go to the park, you don't go outside, no screens, no auditory stimulus. If you want just very light meditative music, use lavender oil, keep dim lights before sleeping, deep pressure massage on body if you can, and only by a person that the child trusts. not an outsider. So that would be my recommendation. I again don't know how much therapy are you doing currently for your kid, but I would again not recommend more than 4 hours of individual therapeutic work with any kid in one day. If your child is going to school and going to two therapies in a day, and again, that depends age to age, but justified enough. So, like, your child is going to school, your child is going to 4 5 therapies in a day, that is something that I would not recommend. You are dysregulating their nervous systems. If I ask you to do that, probably you are not going to be able to do that. So I would not put any kid in a position of doing something what I can't do. So yeah, that's that. Uh, Kid is communicating well, speaks well, performs all activities, but just with peer group. What activities to work for ADD? Okay, so even for ADD, my recommendation first, very important, check their reflexes. Like, check their moros, check their TLR. These are specifically ADD and ADHD kids who have good ATNR and STNR skills, but their regulation is so poor. So work on their moros, work on their TLR, teach them a lot of breathing exercises that calm their vagus nerve, lots of blowing exercises, lot of head pressure exercises. These are also the kids that I would stimulate less in terms of movement. Okay, I don't want them to get even more stimulated by the movements. So use less movement based activities, more pressure based body using activities for them. Okay, next question. When will sensory integration happen? Okay, so for sensory systems to get stimulated in my brain, so like I have taught this a lot of times in my workshops now, that this is my brainstem, okay, which has all the reflexes. Let's just say that the reflexes are active, unintegrated currently. So my body is being controlled by brainstem. It's being controlled here. Your sensory systems are here in your cerebral cortex. Okay. So this is my visual system. This is my auditory system. This is my proprioception. Cerebellum is my vestibular system. Frontal lobes are the reasons I can do any executive functions. So for my brain to have that control, the control has to go from brainstem to cortex. So you need to make sure, once I need, let's just say that I want to comment that this specific thing is sensory, I have to make sure that it's not coming from the unintegrated reflexes. If the body is still being controlled by brainstem, that means these areas are stimulated, probably overstimulated, understimulated, and also are not integrated properly. If they're not stimulated properly, if they're not integrated properly, you're going to see sensory integration issues. So you need to look at the reflexes first, then look at the sensory systems. Uh, very honestly speaking, since I am certified in both reflexes and sensory, um, I start working on reflexes, and we do both reflex and sensory profiles for all our kids, all of them, and we automatically see improvements in the sensory profile. I'm not actively working on sensory integration. Yes, we put a lot of sensory equipments in our reflex integration, but when I redo my profiles, I see a major change in the sensory integration also, because as the reflexes are getting integrated, the sensory systems are getting stimulated properly and they are connecting with both sides. Again, I can't emphasize this enough, that doing activities equally on both sides is very very important, very very important. So if your child is writing and it's a very good skill, but if your child writes like this with one hand down, I know for sure that the child is only using left brain and they're not using right brain. So you need to use one hand for stability and the other hand for precision. Again, very very important. Okay. For Auditory, we have recently started SSP auditory protocol. And if we start talking, then she starts making the same humming and growling sound. And even we say her name positively, she does the same. Okay, so for this specific kid, I would again, because this kid's nervous system looks very dysregulated, and when I say dysregulated, most of our most of the kids that we see, their nervous systems are not connected very well. But this specific kid, I would definitely go and check their food sensitivities, their metal testing, at least those two to start with, because their right brain, the basal ganglia that stops you, that indirect pathway seems pretty inactive. So she has to use, even though she understands the consequences of repeating the thing, she can't control it. So again, my recommendation would be check their food sensitivities and check their metal testing, heavy metal test, hair test for sure, sure. Okay. Next question. What can be the causes of repetition and fixations, particularly in verbal stemming? Keeps on repeating the same question even after getting the answer. So a lot of kids do this. Two, three two three things that we are probably gonna look at here is, first, check if their morose is still active. Okay, so kids whose morose is still unintegrated, they constantly want reassurance from the environment. So like, have you done it? Yes, I've done it. But did you do it? Yes, I have done it. So that reassurance only comes when you are very anxious and nervous. So your anxiety and nervousness comes from your morose reflex. First thing that I'm gonna check is morose reflex. Second, I'm gonna see is, the thing I would want to do is a lot of breathing exercises, blowing exercises, and long blowing, not just. So basically, exhalation again helps a lot, calming the kid down, and sort of slowing them down, because that's something which is very, very important. Again, the loops, certain loops that they can use in the brain are very, very strong as compared to the others that stop those loops. So you have to understand, when the kid is constantly doing one thing, repeatedly doing one thing, stimming, takes, be it verbal, visual, anything, when you see repetitive behaviors, you need to understand that the kid's indirect pathway of the brain, the pathways that say no to your body and control no's of your body, are not functioning, which is in the right brain. So again, lots of right brain stimulation activities are going to help. That's why for the kids that at least we work with, we never work on one sides. We work on both sides, no matter what. Like, no matter what. Okay. Um, 20-month-old speaking only 5 words but doesn't repeat when asked but understands everything. So that's pretty normal. 20 months old kids are, you know, they are like that. So if you know that they can say words, they're just not repeating after you every time. We don't expect them to. Also, every kid is different. Every kid is different. So, um, that's pretty much normal. Does epilepsy affect sensory system? Oh yes. Oh, definitely yes. So what is epilepsy? Epilepsy is overfiring of your neurons. So one certain part of your brain automatically decides to overfire. When they're overfiring, the other parts, the adjacent parts of the brain, they also get overfired and they get tired. They did not process anything. So when your neurons are overfiring, your body, your brain is unable to process that overfiring. That's why it's epilepsy. So your brain is sort of getting a little damaged by it. Your neurons, they have a threshold at which they receive the impulses. So that is obviously getting hampered. Plus, the anti-epileptics are neuroinhibitors. So they don't know, when you give them an anti-epileptic, it's going to go and inhibit that function overall in the brain and not on that specific area where your seizures start from. So my overall functioning of neurons will go down. Okay. So definitely a yes, yes. My kid does visual stimming. What intensity? I'm sorry, just a second. Mm, what intensity and amount of vestibular input should I give him on regular basis? Okay, so for this specific kid, Rashmi, you're gonna have to see um, when you give them vestibular input, just do it for 2 days and see if the verbal stimming or visual stimming increases or decreases. That's very important. Okay, you need to make observations as parents that I did this thing differently today. Did it work for me positively or negatively? And I say this to parents all the time: swinging merry-go-rounds, jumping on trampoline without any activity are not sensory diets. Okay, according to me, you should not let your kid jump on trampoline unstructured, for as long as they want, because you are actually increasing their threshold of vestibular input. So you need to do it for 2 minutes, do it for 3 minutes, do it like an activity. See if that made a difference in next 2 hours. Okay, it's not going to make a huge difference for 2 days, but observe if it made a difference in next 2 hours, and then decide that this is how much my kid needs. Okay. My 6-year son can't see properly in bright sunlight. He looks down or uses one eye, but normal during normal light. I think again that's a pretty normal thing. So when we have bright lights, probably he just have sensitive eyes. I would recommend getting an eye checkup done. Go to an ophthalmologist and get an eye checkup done. But looking in the bright sun, a lot of people have difficulty with that. Check if their light sensitivity is too high. Again, you're gonna have to go to an optha and get that checked. Not a thing that he's doing purposely. So like this is the normal light, I'm sitting here, I'm seeing normal. If I also go in sunlight, this is the first thing that I'm gonna do. So pretty much a normal response. See, this is what happens, that when we work with children, we overjudge them even on the normal things. So probably he just have more sensitive eyes. So I can't go outside in sunlight without sunglasses because I have sensitive eyes. So again, just go and get it checked by an optha. And then probably we can see if it is not eye related, nothing physiological, then we try and figure out that is it more sensitivity because of certain reasons that's happening in the brain. But then you need to rule out the ophthalmologist, their point of views. Okay. um Ma'am, can vibration plate used on regular basis for 5 minutes? No, nothing for 5 minutes in one go. So like even for vibration plate, I tell this to parent to do it in different postures. Do it in standing, do it in sitting, do it in quadruped with hands on the vibration plate. Do it in prone extension where their tummy is on vibration plate. Do it while they're lying down on the vibration plate, but not more than 2 minutes in one go. Also, again, very very important, do one vibration plate activity, do something else. Vibration plate is not a source of vestibular input unless you're using it in a way. Okay, so if you go and stand on the vibration plate, you'll see it's more proprioception for lower body. If I do it in a quadruped position, you'll feel it's more for upper body. Yes, you're getting very slow vestibular, controlled rhythmic vestibular, but again, like it depends a lot on how you're using it. I don't recommend using it more than 2 minutes in one go. Okay, 2.5 minutes, then give a break, do some other activity, then come back for another different posture on the vibration plate. Again, not exceeding 2.5 minutes. So kids below 5 years of age, 2 minutes is my maximum time in one go, in one posture. I would do something else and then maybe go on vibration plate. Do the vibration plate again in some other posture, 2.5 minutes. We usually don't do more than two activities on vibration plate in one session. So maybe just one. But vibration plate is a very good way of regulating a child if used properly, because we also don't want to make kids addicted to that vibration plate. So again, keeping pros and cons of everything in mind. Next question. How to increase the speed of writing of grade 1 kid? Very good question. I love handwriting questions. So, check for their posture first. Check for the posture. How long can the kid sit? Check for their stability. Again, if you want to increase the speed, you need to check if this arm is holding the paper and if this arm is writing. Is my arm, when it's writing, swinging on elbow, or is my arm shoulder is moving when I'm writing? So it's very important. When I'm writing, I just need to swing everything on my elbows. My shoulder doesn't move. For a lot of kids, parents don't understand this, teachers don't go through this, that the kids are writing like this. Even if their elbow is down, their shoulder is moving when they write, and this is not a good posture when you're writing. Your shoulder gets tired, your core gets tired, and then you just do everything very slowly. So check their scapulohumeral rhythm, strengthen their shoulders, strengthen their bilateral integration, strengthen the grasp based activities, and then try to give them a timer if they have an understanding. But I love that work, like very good question. Okay. Next question. What could be the reason of self-biting while laughing non-stop? Okay. So very simple. Probably the yeast stimulates my laughing. I'm laughing, I'm laughing, I'm laughing, and my arousal level goes here. Okay. It goes really high up, and I want to bring it down. Now, let's just say that we are angry. I am angry. There are people who have bad temper and they do this. Okay. So pressure calms you down. Pressure brings your arousal level down. The kid went up, laughing, laughing, laughing. Their arousal level went up. Now they want a mechanism to bring it down. So dysregulation is all of that, your arousal levels going up and down. So I am a hyperactive kid. I move, 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 move. My arousal levels are here. Now I want to come down. I want to come to optimum. And then I use pressure mechanisms. I start jumping. I start crashing. I start pushing people. I start, pulling hair and all of that stuff. And then I come down, and now I'm down and I want to go up again, and that's the loop of arousal levels going up and down, up and down, up and down. So if the child starts laughing a lot, their arousal level went up, and now I want to bring it back to optimum, so I'm using the biting strategy, the pressure strategy, to come down. Your kid is actually not using their environment at all to regulate themselves. So self laughing took you up, self biting brought you down. So your child is again in a loop that when I want to stimulate myself, I laugh, and when I'm in a hyper aroused state, I want to come down, I bite myself and I come down. So that's probably what's happening. Mm, okay. Ma'am, how to contact you for online consultation? I'll put the number in the chat box. You can WhatsApp us and then we can book your online consultation. Thank you. Anjali Handa has asked how to work on tactile seeking behavior. Okay, so tactile seeking is a lot associated with weak parietal lobes in the brain. Could be both left and right. You need to check your kids' palmar grasp. So let's just say that my parietal lobes are understimulated and they are wanting a lot of input from the environment. What stimulates my parietal lobe is touch and proprioception. Okay. Now I want to stimulate my parietal lobes. I want my body to feel good. I touch things because to move around, to do a lot of physical activities and stimulate my parietal lobes through uh, proprioceptive activities. I need good core strength, I need good leg strength. If my kid does not have that, they are going to try and stimulate their parietal lobes with hands. So, tactile receptors, hand and mouth, which is your lips. So, major areas in your parietal lobes, like major control areas in your parietal lobes, are your hands and your lips. So, again, my recommendation, lots of tactile activities on hands, controlled, structured. Focus a lot on integrating their palmar and rooting. Again, if you see your parietal lobes, this area corresponds to your legs, this area corresponds to your hands, and this area corresponds to your mouth. So, if your child is seeking a lot of tactile input, they are seeking a lot of input in this area of the brain. So, deep massages on the arm, I always tell this to parents, specifically when the kids are tactile seeking, that ask your kid to wipe your cars and vertical surfaces, but because that helps so much in integrating your palmar grasp, so much in strengthening your shoulders. You're asking them to do a household chore. I would just ask the kid to wipe the floor. I'll put water everywhere and I ask them to just wipe the floor. Do that pocha thingy for me, because that's going to integrate their palmar grasp and the stimulation on hand. Stupid activity, but helps a lot. Okay. Um, Rubbing my nose and kissing. Sorry. Rubbing my nose and kissing forcefully, and how long will it take to integrate reflexes? Okay, so rubbing nose and kissing forcefully, a lot of time again for the kids is emotional control. Okay, reflexes should ideally, if you start working on them and if you religiously work on them, they go in 6 to 9 months completely. If the brain is in optimum learning condition, if your brain still has inflammation, if your brain is still getting the sensitivities, if you are on any medication that keeps your brain inhibited a little, it might take a little longer for your kid to integrate the reflexes. Either ways, it's a lot about regulation and emotional control, and speech plays a major role here. So let's just say that I want to tell you something. You know, uh, what we call as buttering. If as a child I want to butter you, I want to, ask things from you and get things done by you, that is probably what I would do. So if your child has speech difficulties also, so this is your child's way of communicating their needs to you. So again, speech reflexes, check their brain's health in general, sensitivities, gut health, what medications they are on, are those medications keeping them under aroused. So they might also be trying to arouse themselves while seeking, like I told you, while seeking a lot of touch on their lips constantly. Okay. Hi, ma'am. I need a clarification. The child has a good fine motor skills and scattered gross motor skills and inattention, no body awareness, and can't do gross motor activities. What's the reason? Okay, weak core strength for sure. Check their Moros, check their TLR, check how much stability, postural control stability do they have in the front and the back of their body. So if I want to sit down on the floor and just do fine motor and my visual system is good, I should be able to do that. But for me to do gross motor activities, my left brain and right brain should be integrated together and doing that task. Okay, my strength in the body, overall strength in the body should be good. So if my core strength is weak, my postural control is not great, I will have inattention. Anybody will have inattention. And if he has inattention, I'm sure his left brain and right brain are not integrated very well. So Gross motor activities usually need bilateral coordination and sequencing, so that's also poor. Again, a loop, but starts with core strength. Also, probably, just probably, for this kid, check the range of motion also if this is available with them or not. Okay, check if this kid W sits, because again, I would want to check their hips too. So are their hips internally rotated when they sit down, or is the tone too low? I would probably also check Babinski for this kid if they avoid gross motor activities. Okay. Ma'am, is it possible for an adult having unintegrated reflexes? Yes, yes, definitely yes. So, a lot of people who have learning disabilities, who have poor handwriting, these things went undiagnosed earlier, but now a lot of adults, also kids. So, we do get a lot of questions from kids between 16 years to 24 years that we think that we have adult ADHD, or we have difficulty focusing, difficulty paying attention, reading for very long period of time, we get tired. So yes, definitely adults also have unintegrated reflexes. Fully functional adults also. Again, I have said this out a lot, many number of times now. A lot of people have unintegrated Moro's reflex, like a lot of them. So your temper, your anxiety, your nervousness usually comes from a borderline Moro's only. Okay. Okay. Ma'am, could you please throw some light on how to improve visual spatial skills in kid? Okay. For visual spatial skills, sorry. One thing that I would want to do is, again, wide visual field auditory based activities first. Okay. So I would want to start with, let's just say that I put mats all over, big visual field, like so for me to understand space, I need to start with big gross motor activities and give them as much space as possible, and then ask them to use small spaces. So I'll ask them to jump on purple. Okay, when you're on purple, jump on green, or maybe right leg on green, left leg on red. Now again, right leg on red. So giving them very slow auditory instructions, but I would definitely start working on a big visual field, scanning, tracing, fixations, lots of that work before I come on to only spacing. Before spacing, work on their sizes. Okay, if I cannot understand the size, spacing is very hard to do. Okay, guys, we are running a little late, so I'm just going to take up the questions that are there in the chat box. Um, okay. Ear tapping frequently after clearing ear cleaning, ma'am. Okay, that's again very common. With a lot of wax in your ear, sometimes you just get used to it. Your nerves are blocked, especially your vestibulocochlear nerve. It's a cranial nerve that supplies your ear, so it's responsible for your hearing and also your balance systems. So, with a lot of wax, sometimes it's compressed, the nerve endings are compressed a little bit. Okay, and when you clean them, the child just feels differently, so they keep doing this. Pretty normal after the ear cleaning exam, at least. Um, Blowing, how much we should do if you take in time? Uh, I'm sorry, I could not understand the question. Blowing, how much we should do if you take in time? I again, sorry, please, if you can clarify the question, I'll answer it. Next question, ma'am. Which reflex is responsible for more body movements in child, and previously the child has went through 1.5 years of OT? Can this be a cause of overstimulation, and this is causing more body movements? OT is very different with different people. I don't know what you've done so far. Ideally, OT activities should not be overstimulating your brain if they are play based. Okay, like I said, I would never put a kid on trampoline and tell them do 100 jumps for me. I would never put a kid on swing and then just let them do swinging, no activity, and say it is a sensory diet. Never. Okay, so I don't know what kind of OT you've done so far. Ideally, OTs don't overstimulate your brain, but if your child is constantly moving, it's just a disbalance between the flexor side of the body and the extensor side of the body. Again, your TLR forwards and TLR backwards. So I would just work on supine flexion, prone extension, extra body movement should stop after that. Ma'am, which is responsible for shaky fingers while writing and all the time? Is this sensory or behavior? If your child is shaking their fingers all the time, I would first check if the child is ready for writing or not. So we get a lot of kids, we see a lot of kids whose nervous system is not even ready for writing. They can't regulate even the basic stuff, but because of the pressure that they get from society and school, they start working on it. But I would again definitely check scapulohumeral rhythm, like I explained, that if while writing my shoulder moves instead of my elbow swinging, if my other hand is not on the table, those are the things I would probably first work on. Also check their palmar grasp. So a lot of times when holding a pencil, when you're trying to hold a pencil, the pencil touches your palm and palmar grasp gets activated and you want to leave the pencil. But then you tell them to hold the pencil touches my palm, palmar grasp gets activated, you leave the pencil. Could be palmar grasp, could be poor posture, could be poor scapulohumeral rhythm. You're gonna have to check all of those. Okay. Uh, uh, uh. Okay, we have a lot of questions again. If the child's gut is in a bad shape, is it okay to start working on reflexes, or shall we fix the gut first and then work on reflexes? Both go hand in hand. Fixing gut can take at least 6 months to 1 year, maybe more than that. Okay, maybe more than that. Primitive reflexes need to go as soon as possible. Don't forget that when you are leaving the reflexes, the body is learning to, so your brain is still getting that input. Your brain is not fresh anymore. So your body is learning to cope with the environment in certain mechanisms. When you leave, when you just work on the gut and you don't work on the primitive reflexes, you don't work on the nervous system, you are basically letting the body cope and learn how to live with those primitive reflexes. So my recommendation would be start working on them ASAP, and no, not fix the gut first and then go to primitive reflexes. Don't waste your years. Gut fixing takes minimum 6 months to 1 years. Like that's bare minimum that I would say. Okay. Can you please explain a little bit about photobiomodulation and its benefits? Yes, I can. I was just waiting for this question. I'm amazed that how did it not come so far. Okay. So, like I told you, most of the times, the kids have an underlying cause. It's just that so far nobody was looking for them. Your child was tagged as ASD, autism, and you had to live with it. Nobody knew why is it happening, but now we have the reasons, we have the tests that we can find out that okay, this is what's happening in my body, this is what is causing so much inflammation in the brain, and an inflamed brain cannot give you full functions. Okay, so what lasers are doing is that they, with different frequencies, different kids, different settings, different mechanisms, assessments, we laser the parts of the brain starting from the very base of the brain. We laser the gut to detox as soon as possible. We laser the brain to reduce the inflammation. We are doing that to improve your ATP production, to improve your synapses, to improve your neurotransmitter production, to improve your channel gates, ion channel gates that are responsible for the synapses, for better connections in the brain. So, lasers are great, like literally great if done properly. And I usually tell this to parents that if we are just doing normal OT and trying to integrate reflexes. And like somebody asked that how long does it take and why is it not happening in my kid's brain? Even if you are giving the right input and the body is getting a lot of inflammation from the base, your brain is not able to fix that because the inflammation keeps coming, the drugs keeps coming. If your child is not on any medication, you know it, and you know there are certain causes. If you have your food sensitivities, if you have your oats, if you have your metal testings, you know that which areas of the brain are most inflamed, so you work on those areas specifically and you do therapy and it works like magic, like literally magic. So and it's not necessary that we'll get everything in one go, because we can't fry a kid's brain with lasers. So we have to go very slow, prime up the brain, and then start working more on specific functional areas of the brain while doing the function of that part, that lobe of the brain. But yes, it so far it works like magic. Okay, guys, we are over time, and I'm just quickly gonna take up all the questions and try to answer them all together. Okay. Ma'am, I was consistently doing reflex exercises with my daughter and she was settled and improving in speech too. But since last month, her stimmings came back, like she started toe walking and visual stimming, etc. Okay, so again, probably there has to be some episode that triggered the inflammation in the brain. So far, the brain was doing pretty good. The brain was in a good state of learning, maybe. And then antibiotics, inflammation, infection, anything can happen. More gut inflammation, more sugar, more processed foods, the inflammation goes to brain. As soon as this part, the cerebral cortex of the brain gets inflamed, the control goes back to the brainstem. Or your right brain becomes weaker, your basal ganglia's left side becomes stronger, so your stimming gets stronger. So find out what was the cause for your kids, again, getting those stimmings. What are the reasons for mouthing and licking and how to help? Again, very weak parietal lobes. Kid is trying to take a lot of stimulation, tactile stimulation through mouth. I would check for Palmer and tactile defensivity here. Check for rooting, check for Palmer. If rooting and Palmer are there, check for Babinski as well. Okay, guys. Auditory hypersensitivity solution, please, ma'am. He covers the ear if either in traffic, doing verbal stemming with that. Okay, so auditory hypersensitivity, you need to keep a little bit background, only instrumental music on for them. So give them white noise, just white noise. Auditory hypersensitivity, 100% your kids' Morose is active, like 100%. Try to work on integrating Morose reflex, and auditory hypersensitivity should come down on its own. Blowing activity as any time limit. So again, whatever your kids' current status is, push them a little more. Every time, if your kid can do, let's just say 20 blows, I would do 22, 23. If they can do 25, I would do 28, 29. So blowing in general is something you need to build up. You need to build up, okay? Okay. Ma'am, with regression, do these sensory reflexes, behavior issues which were achieved previously can return? Yes. So with regression, basically regression is giving the control from cortex to brainstem again. So brainstem is a very primitive area of the brain that can't do precisive actions. Okay, it can only keep your body in survival mode. So that's what's happening when your brain gets too inflamed. It gives control to brainstem. Brainstem only has reflexes to control your body, and it controls your body by reflexes. So yes, with regression, with inflammation, your reflexes can come back. My child makes noises. Why does this happen? Uh, okay, so I don't know what kind of noises are they making, but if they're just screaming and seeking a lot of pressure here, you're gonna have to see if it is pressure based or if it is auditory based. Like, are they trying to hear something when they're making the sounds, or they're trying to vibrate their vocal cords? Okay, Very, very important when you're trying to identify what's the cause of sound, this thing. Okay, if the child has a lot of sensory issues, how to choose the reflex exercises? You don't choose reflex exercises, you do the reflex testing, you do it in hierarchy. uh, we don't get to choose the reflexes that we work on. We're going to have to probably work on all of them and in the sequence. So let's just say that I have a kid whose spinal galant reflex is super active. I put them on a ball for more rows and their spinal gland gets stimulated and the kid is immediately like this. I will never get my response for more rows that I was expecting if their spinal gland is active. Okay. So you need to do the reflex testing in hierarchy and then plan your session accordingly. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for joining me on the Sunday. We'll try and do this more often so I can answer your questions and hope to see you again. Thank you. Have a good week. Thank you.